What is up, YouTube? Welcome to Sport Ruffians. I'm your host, as always, Ovi Trev. Before we get into it, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification, and also subscribe to Gaming Authority. If you are a big and avid Madden player, you definitely want to follow them to get your defense up. I know that's where I go to whenever I need a defense, so make sure to subscribe to their channel, and also go to GoLiveT-shirts.com for all your t-shirt needs. Now today, we are breaking down the receivers in the NFL draft, and receivers that I feel as though will be great on the scene in their first year. So I'm going to rank my top 5. But talking about this draft, there was over 15 wide receivers taken in the first 3 rounds of this draft. So we already knew coming in that it was going to be a wide receiver heavy draft, and it definitely did not disappoint. So we're going to go over the top 5 that I think will have the most production this year. But just looking back on the receivers that were taking in this draft: Ceedee, who went to the Cowboys; Jeudy, Broncos; Henry Ruggs, the Raiders; Justin Jefferson, Vikings; Michael Pittman, the Colts; Brandon Ayuk, San Fran; T. Higgins, Cincinnati; Jalen Reagor to the Eagles. A lot of receivers that joined a lot of great offenses during this draft. But we're going to go over my top 5 who are going to have the most production in 2020. So starting off with number 5, we're going to go Jeudy, wide receiver out of Alabama. Now, a lot of people had him pegged as the number 1 receiver in the entire draft. He was more so the consensus wide receiver pick in this draft for that top 1 ranking. Now, looking at Jeudy, he has all the physical traits that you want in a receiver. He's a height, weight, speed guy. He has strong hands, definitely maximizes that on third down, has great run after the catch ability, doesn't have a blazing fast 40 time. But just looking at the Broncos offense, the reason why I have him ranked number 5 is, number 1, the Broncos are more of a running team as far as utilizing their running backs. Number 1, they have Phillip Lindsay, who is a pretty solid to good running back for them, and they just added Melvin Gordon. So over the years, they were looking for receiver help, and they found it last year in Cortland Sutton, who was great for them. He had a pretty solid year last year, talking about 6 touchdowns and over 800 yards. So not too bad for him, but they definitely got a lot better with adding Jeudy to the mix. Now, when we're talking about the Broncos, we're obviously looking at Drew Lock, who came on late last year and threw for over 1,000 yards in limited games, but looked good. My whole thing is I don't believe Jeudy will get that much volume on the Denver Broncos, so that's why I have him ranked at number 5. But I have him pulling in 250 yards with 5 touchdowns on the year. Just because like I said, it's not always about the best receiver. It's about the situation that they are brought into and the style of offense and style of coaching that they are brought into. So I have Jeudy as my number 5 ranked wide receiver as far as production for rookies next year in 2020. Next up would be Denzel Mims. Now, Denzel Mims was selected in the 2nd round with the 27th pick to the New York Jets. He was one of the guys that definitely slid in this draft. I had him going later in the 1st round, early 2nd. Don't know why a lot of teams chose to pass on Denzel Mims, but I'll tell you one thing. He ran the 2nd fastest at the combine for a wide receiver with a 4.38 40-yard time. Also has an explosive vertical with a 40-inch vertical. Is a guy who would definitely stretch the field. Looking at the Jets offense last year, they lost Robbie Anderson to free agency to the Carolina Panthers. Jamison Crowder was a nice option down the stretch in the slot. And other than that, you had a Le'Veon Bell who definitely underwhelmed last season from years previous with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the offense looked kind of out of sorts, especially with Sam Darnold having mononucleosis his first couple of games. It kind of did not get that jump start that they were looking for, but Denzel Mims will definitely be a fire starter for that offense. Talking about a guy who can burn you. He has great size at 6'3" and will definitely be a beast on the outside. I am forecasting 720 yards for Denzel Mims with 7 touchdowns as well. So I think he will be productive next year with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold finally has a weapon, a young weapon that he can utilize a lot in this offense. And now talking about another guy who fell into a great spot. Wow. Ceedee Lamb fell all the way to pick 17 in the first round to the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of Eagles fans are pissed about this move because the Eagles could have traded up, or how we could have done more to get Ceedee Lamb and snag him right in front of the Cowboys, but that did not happen. So what did happen? Ceedee Lamb goes to the Cowboys, a team that had the second leading passer in the league last year, and Dak Prescott surprisingly threw for 4,902 yards. Looking at their receivers, of course, you had Amari Cooper, who has been injury-riddled his last 2 years with the Cowboys, but still productive nonetheless. He had just under 1,200 yards with 8 touchdowns. Gallup had over 1,000 yards with 6 touchdowns. You have an older and slower Jason Witten. The offensive line is still intact, even though they did lose a valuable piece on that offense this year. But forecasting Ceedee Lamb, talking about a guy who was ranked as the second best receiver by most scouts and experts. A lot of analysts felt that Ceedee Lamb was definitely considered, or could have been considered, the top receiver in the draft. The thing is, his 40 time was a little bit slow, but his game speed definitely shows on tape. Ceedee Lamb has great hands. He is a good route runner, and I think that he will definitely excel this Dallas offense to the next level. I would say Ceedee Lamb just won't get as much volume as Amari Cooper would, because you still have Ezekiel Elliott in that offense, who is that power motor starter for the Cowboys. So they're more of a running team, but can definitely utilize Ceedee Lamb and the pass this year with the second leading passer in Dak Prescott. I am forecasting Ceedee Lamb for 900 yards and 8 touchdowns in his first career season with the Dallas Cowboys. Next up, I thought was the best receiver in the draft. We're talking about a height, weight, speed guy who can break tackles like no other. He is definitely Julio Jones reincarnated. We are talking Henry Ruggs III. Now, the Raiders definitely did a great job selecting him because, like I said, he was my number one receiver on the board. Mike Mayock definitely did his thing with this pick. Now, Derek Carr, we've seen over the years, he's gotten better over the last year or so. Threw for over 4,000 yards last year. His top receivers were Tyrell Williams with 651 yards and 6 touchdowns, and Hunter Renfrow, who was on and off a good slot player for them last season. But they also have taken rookies too. So overall, in the first 3 rounds, they've taken 3 wide receivers. We're talking Brian Edwards and Lynn Bowden Jr. So they definitely went aggressive as far as drafting wide receivers and getting Derek Carr help, who's needed it for a while now since Amari Cooper has been gone. But great pick by the Raiders. I definitely see Henry Ruggs eclipsing 1,000 yards. I just don't think he will get that many targets because they're more of a running team now. But now they are showing that they want to open the pass, opening up that playbook for Derek Carr. So I'm forecasting Henry Ruggs with 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns next season for the Oakland Raiders. Now, getting into my number one receiver for 2020, number one rookie receiver for 2020 is Justin Jefferson. Now, a lot of people had him pegged to the Eagles, as did I. They decided to go for the shorter, I would say more explosive player in Jalen Reagor. Now, Justin Jefferson will get the job done. He has great hands, great route running ability, but the thing that lacks with him is his 40. I feel as though that doesn't matter to me. His game speed, shows how fast and how explosive he can be, as well as leaping ability. He has strong hands, will catch those passes on 3rd downs. Now, the reason why I have him number one, although Kirk Cousins had a down year last year, only throwing for 3,600 yards when he usually throws for 4,500, close to 5,000 yards a year, we're talking about a quarterback who loves throwing to his wide receivers and doesn't utilize his tight end at all. Dalvin Cook, I understand, is in the offense, and he's a great running back, catches some passes out the backfield, but he definitely utilizes his receivers. Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. If you play fantasy football for the last 3 or 4 years, you know that if you get either one of them in the 2nd or 1st round, you are golden. Either one will get the job done, and that's mostly because of Kirk Cousins. So I feel as though Kirk Cousins will definitely utilize Justin Jefferson, a guy that can be his security blanket outside of Adam Thielen. Last year, the receivers definitely did not play up to par. Adam Thielen only had 418 yards with 6 touchdowns. Obviously was hurt throughout the year. Stephon Diggs was their best receiver, but he is now gone and moved on to the Buffalo Bills, and he had over 1,000 yards with 6 touchdowns as well. So I definitely see Justin Jefferson getting the volume. That, remember, at the end of the day, it doesn't come down to which receiver is the best out of this class. It comes down to the situation, the coaching, and the scheme that they're involved in. I think Justin Jefferson will have 11 touchdowns and 900 yards next season. So he is my number one ranked rookie receiver for 2020. So I would like to thank you guys all for watching. And yes, this is my new channel. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification. I split my other channel that is now the Black Paul Podcast, where I cover my team, the Carolina Panthers. So if you are a Panthers fan, make sure to subscribe to that channel as well. And thank you all for watching. My next video, I will be going over the rookie running backs and the quarterbacks as well, and we will be breaking down Rookie of the Year. So thank you all for watching again, and I'll see you next time.